This is Ageless, a podcast where we walk fearlessly into the uninhibited years, merging desire and wisdom, venturing into new paths without regret. I'm Jessica Podonsky, your host. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner and menopause provider, certified by the North American Menopause Society, or the Menopause Society. Besides sex, hormones, and mind expansion as medicine, I love a good story, and I hope to share a lot of them with you, and hear some from guests. A quick word of warning, I use office inappropriate language. The F-bomb will probably go off. Also, while I am a medical professional, nothing I say should be used as advice or prescription. I am not your medical professional. Talk to your healthcare team before making any changes. Now, on to the episode. I never thought that menopause would be so fucking controversial. There's the whole use medication, don't use medication, it's a natural process, just go through it, you'll get to the other end, no, don't suffer. I've always been of the mind of taking the pressure off. Do whatever takes the pressure off. So if that means for you using medication, great. If that means for you going without medication, perfect. This episode, I'm going to be speaking with Veras Sealy, who is a menopause doula or a menopause guide. The terms are interchangeable, and we're going to get into them. Grace helps you to take the pressure off in different ways. Her role is to guide people and support them in their choice of medication or not medication, lifestyle choices. You already know that I am a certified menopause provider with the MenopauseSociety.org, I think is what it's called now. It used to be North American Menopause Society. And today I have Grace Veras is a menopause health guide with Elektra Health. And we met. I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a second, Grace. I'm super excited to meet you. I'm excited to meet you. We've actually, full disclosure, we did this before. We did this over the weekend. So I decided that it was, what better time but to try new technology right before an interview. And yeah, it didn't get recorded at all. Anyway, but we met at, where was that? The Pause
It was,
conference?
I can't remember, but it was at a menopause symposium.
In the pause.
In the pause.
Yeah. Something like that.
Symposium.
Something. Yeah. A
Yeah.
symposium. And I was very excited because you said, "Oh, I follow you." That's so exciting. Thank you.
I had just watched you. I was in a car on the way and I put on Instagram, which I never look at me and put on Instagram. I opened Instagram and I was just wasting time looking through stories, and you were talking about how you were trying to get to this and you didn't feel things were going, etc., to get you there. And I wonder if we're going to the same event. And then I got there, you weren't there. But then you came in later and I was like, you are. And I know who you are.
And then I proceeded to strip down all my clothes because I was having a hot flash. Because at that point, my hormone, my patch had been the same patch. I had been not the same. I hadn't been changing it. It was the same dosage. And I had been in my mind thinking, oh, I really need to increase this. I really need to increase this. And being a responsible healthcare provider, I don't do my own medicine. I reach out to other healthcare professionals to write my prescriptions and do collaborative care with me. But I was really suffering. I was really suffering. I was not only physical pains of going through menopause, but my mood was so low, I was frightened at that point.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was really that low. This menopause is like no joke. But
Yeah, it's no joke. By the way, I couldn't
you
tell at all, so you pulled it off.
I did strip down though. You didn't notice that when I did? I
No,
was sitting
no,
there, everyone
'cause I
else
was
I
sitting
was
facing away from you, so you were
yeah,
behind
yeah.
me, so I
I
didn't notice.
ripped off my jacket, my sweater came off. I was sitting there in a tank top, just huffing and puffing. I was so hot and gross and felt horrible.
God.
But Grace, let's talk about who you are. Give a little introduction and let us know. Let the
Sure.
people know.
I'm Veras Sealy. I am a holistic health counselor or holistic health coach, former doula, former postpartum doula, So I had a whole other life in the perinatal world for anywhere between 20 years and the 8 years, except for this past year. And but now I'm a we call ourselves menopause guides. It could be menopause doula, menopause coach. The name might evolve, but so far it's guides at Elektra Health, which is a online health menopause health company. And we're geared towards helping women get through at least those 10 years, but beyond. The biggest you're one of the biggest life transitions that we have. We the transition menarche and having your period for the first time, and there's a lot of information about that. There's a transition of becoming pregnant and having a baby, and there's a ton of information about that and a ton of resources, but there's not that much for menopause. And people are really suffering by not knowing and not having support. And so that's what we aim to offer evidence-based support, evidence-based in education and information, and then enthusiastic and empathetic support to everyone
Yeah.
going through the transition.
I think even in my it's sometimes I'll be talking to people just on the Instagram or I'll have a friend saying, "Oh, you should do a post on this and do a post on that." I'm like, "Oh, doesn't everyone know this right now?"
You'd be
And
surprised, yeah.
yeah, a lot of people don't know. And even thinking about my own journey through this change, and I have the letters after my name, right? I passed the test. I passed the test that says
Yeah.
I am certified to talk about this. I am certified to give you true information.
Right.
But even my own kind of when I was going through the extreme mood stuff, I thought this can't be this can't be menopause. This cannot
Right. Is
be
it
like this
related? Is
really
it not?
like what happening? Like this feels so bad. I'm so sad. This is really problematic. And lo and behold, trusting one of the things that I love about menopause care is that there is a whole so at 45 the guidelines say if you're 45 years old, we really want to know what those symptoms are.
Right.
And we can treat based on symptoms, not
Right.
just on labs
Hormones.
or
Yeah.
not on labs.
Yeah.
We think about labs, we're thinking the maintenance of the body, the heart, the cholesterol, your thyroid. They're very general annual physical labs that we really need to like those are baseline and those are okay. And
Or
then
for
for
yeah.
yeah,
Because
go
let's say
ahead.
for, like,
Go.
women that have had an ablation or that have had let's say they've been on birth control this whole time, and they're not menstruating, then you would maybe run it, just, like, get a sense, but for the most part, you wouldn't need
Yeah, everything is good. There's always so guidelines are the gutter when you go to the bowling,
it. Yeah.
right?
It
Like it's
stops you
this
from
one
getting out of
on each side and the guidelines. And this when we're talking about guidelines in menopause care, right? You got the two kind of gutters and you're just
Mhm.
trying to kind of the guidelines are
Get in the
right
middle, yeah.
straight down the middle to get as many pins as you possibly can. And when you're 45, we can go by your symptoms. And
Yeah.
the thing that I love about that is this sense of inviting people to trust their bodies,
Yeah.
right? And listen to their bodies
Listen
and then
to it.
communicate that instead of making the state like, I know my body. Yeah, we're going to start with that as a given. You do know your
Right.
body,
Yeah.
right? So we'll start with a given. Now tell me what's going on and let's figure out how we can support you. But let's kind of take it back a little bit for
Sure.
those folks who don't know what a doula is. Now, by the way, full disclosure, as I was a doula too before
Yeah.
I started this and before I even became a nurse. But what is it? What's a doula?
So a doula, now there are many different kinds of doulas, but before, in the way before times, it was just people who attended births and who provided support to the people that were giving birth. So that means like education before, like letting them know how it goes down in the hospital, if they're going to have a hospital birth, how it goes down in a home birth, talking to them about their choices and their preferences, and then trying to hold the integrity of those choices as they're going through incredibly painful, sometimes scary, unusual transformation that we do when we're taking a human body out of another human body, whichever way it might be. And then helping them be there, being there for them after, so like be a continuous source of support before, during, and after the birthing process. As a postpartum doula, it's kind of the person who's there, and we come at say we, but I'm not no longer doing it, but a postpartum doula can come in at any time postpartum and just help with support and doing the things that are gonna help the whole family, not just the baby. So it's not a baby nurse, it's not a baby nanny, it's someone who's there for the person who gave birth, for the partner, and for the baby, who can just help them all be in a new, not in a new place, but like help them be the best selves that they can be at that time. And
Yeah.
so as a menopause doula, it's someone who can hold the space as you go through that transition, and it's just someone who provides information for a brief period of time so that you get a sense of, "Hey, I'm not crazy. This is real. Everyone goes through this, but we go through it in different ways, and there are things that you can do about it. There's many things that you can do about it. It's not one way or the highway. There's many things." And so my role is to talk to people about the holistic, non-medical ways to help cope with menopause. So be that talking about your day-to-day life and how that's changing, and how what your health choices are, if your health choices are being supportive of you feeling better or not. And then making little habit changes, helping people make little habit changes that are going to eventually help them be the healthiest they can be throughout the transition and beyond. Because if we're talking about the average age is 51, and what's considered like normal is between like 45 and 55, sometimes a little before, a little after,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of life after that. And you want
Yeah.
to get to that part of life feeling strong and being in good health and not feeling you just went through the whole depleting process, but actually feel like you are invigorated, like ready to start anew in whichever you decide.
Do you find that so how does it work exactly? I want to ask you more specific questions,
Mhm.
which I'll do, but how does it work? So also, how did you, because you were in the corporate world prior to
Prior to
all of
this.
this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what was the calling? And you already said that it's like a natural transition, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
right, into menopause care. But
Yeah.
what was the, how did this work? What were you doing in the corporate world?
Oh, yeah. So I worked in publishing. I did the boring things. I did production, which is like the person who gets all of the materials together and
Uh-huh.
sends the orders and puts the budget, like gets all of the things together to make the books, sends the orders out, makes sure that the books come into the warehouse in time, etc. So like really boring, but I got to be around books all the time, and that was, I love reading, I love books. So I was happy in that sense. And then my direct supervisor, who was only 3 years older than me, but she was married and she got pregnant, and I was one of the first people that she told. And she was one of my first friends that to get pregnant, and I had always been fascinated by pregnancy in general. And so throughout the pregnancy, she just kept I was her confidant, and we would talk about her pregnancy all the time. And then one day she came in and was like, "Oh, we're meeting the doula today." And I was like, "What's a doula?" And then she explained it, and I, like, immediately went back to my desk, searched it, found the organization, which is DONA,
Mhm.
who does was the only one that did the trainings then. Now there's, like, a bunch, but that one's, like, the oldest and most established. I talked my cousin into going with me and our mutual really good friend. Yeah, and it was, like, really life-changing, but I still stayed in publishing for another 14 years after that, and I would 10 births here and there.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was gonna get laid off, and I knew that I was gonna get laid off. Like, they told us 10 months ahead. And then 2 weeks later, I found out that I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was like, "The timing kinda sucks, but it's also good because 'cause I'll be on maternity leave and I can have a longer leave. I can start working whenever. And if I'm gonna make the leap to actually do this, then I can take the leap now." And by that point, I had already started thinking about doing postpartum support, having experienced postpartum myself with my first and having experience, difficulty breastfeeding, like working through it. There's a whole bunch of things that I didn't know were happening with my clients that I could be supporting them in. Well, during the time that I was working in publishing, I also went to the School for Integrative Nutrition and became a health counselor. So I had these little side gigs that helped me become what I am today.
Yeah.
COVID was the big decider for me as far as changing the path that I was in
Yeah.
and going into femtech, health tech, and menopause.
Yeah. I think COVID was a big
Yeah, for a
pivot
lot of people.
thing for everyone was forced to pivot in certain way in
Yeah.
certain aspects of their lives. You had said, and then there was just was this a position that you created yourself, or how did that happen? How did you find a mat this?
Oh, yeah. So right around that time when I decided that I needed to find something new as far as work, is when I was like really noticing that I was in perimenopause.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't know. I was like, there has to be, if there's a word for perinatal, then there has to be a word for perimenopause. And that's how I started like searching for it. And I had gone to see my gynecologist, and it was actually a midwife. And I figured, oh, a midwife will know more. That she'll give me more time. And when I asked, I'm noticing all of these things, all of these changes, and I just don't know what to do. And she basically, are you still getting your period every month? And I was like, yep. And she was like, yeah, it's gonna be at that until it stops, and that might be a while. And I was like, oh my god, what? That was it. And then I left feeling very unsatisfied. And so, any Generation Xer, I went online and looked up. I was like, the information has to be online. I'm not the only one who's thinking about this. There's a generation of women going through this. And so I started searching and I found Elektra, and they have a web. So electrahealth.com, just to put it out there. It's a website that has like basically like all of the information that you need when you're trying to find out what is menopause, what is, they break it down into the symptoms, things you can do. So I found it really amazing. And at the time, they were not taking direct to consumer clients. You had to get on a waiting list. So I got on the waiting list. I looked at other places and they were all just shelling hormones right away. And I was like, not really sure that's the way that I
Yeah.
want to go. I need to know more. And then as I started kind of like diving deep into LinkedIn and being, what is it that I really want to do? And how is this connected to what I'm already doing, what I've already done? I decided to start following all of these menopause companies to see what kind of jobs they had. And I kept going back to the Electro website and checking their careers page until one day, I think it was like 3 months into the process, they had the position for guide. And I was like, this is it. This is me.
Right.
So I emailed them, and they emailed me back, and we, started interviewing, and I've been there for a year and a half at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you pointed out something really important. People, I think people don't know that there's so much inner strife and in the menopause space.
Mhm.
It's watching a fucking Mean Girls episode or something. There's the one doctor who's super popular, very well known, who's constantly basically, don't listen to so and so, they're a stupid whore. Like, and then there's another faction that they're like, hormones are gonna kill you, or
Right.
then other factions that are, let's see, it's gotta only be yam, organic yam that you've
Right.
squeezed out of your ass and then had compounded, or we're gonna, you can only shove pellets in your butt. It's, oh, or don't do
Oh my god,
anything
the
at
pellets.
all. So
Right. Just
you
bear
can make
with
it
it.
through. Yeah, you can make it through. And they're all fighting, all fighting. And I don't know how many spaces there are on that. I haven't looked at all of the different companies. I know that one just popped up, like Winona or something. I think it's called
God,
Winona.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I
There's
could
so
be making it
many.
up. I could be
There's so
making it
many.
up. But there's a new company all the time, and so
Yeah.
it's nice to, it's where do you find that balance, right? Because
Right.
my whole philosophy as a provider, whether I'm like my 9 to 5 job, whether I'm working with people individually, it's all about taking the pressure off,
Yeah.
which is what you did as a doula
Right.
during birth, postpartum, and as a lactation consultant as well. It's that concept of taking the pressure off.
And giving
Um,
information.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
making
and
you
that's
be you are the expert in your body, right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
get the information and you're like, "How does this apply to me?" Because it's
I
not
think
the same for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I liked about being a doula because when I was trained, I was donor trained as well, and then I had a mentor. And the whole concept of how do you almost stay invisible at this birth? You're still very present,
Present,
but
yeah.
you're invisible. And how do you offer what the choices are without telling them what they should choose to do? Do you need 5 minutes?
Right.
And I think it's so
Yeah.
important in this life transition to have somebody who's you can actually not
Right.
use hormones. You don't have
Or if you
but
want to, you also
right,
can,
or
but you
if
just
you
have to
want to.
know
Yeah,
what the risks are. Yeah.
when I've taken clients or taken patients, and especially during COVID and when I used to do it more often, I would always give them this printout that gave them choices. This is the way we can go if we go supplements.
Right.
And this is what it looks if we do hormones,
Right.
right? And these are the choices, and there can be a combination of things
Right.
because not everybody wants to do
One or the other.
everything
Yeah.
or one or the other, right? Some people want to do ease into the change
Yeah.
or ease into a protocol, let's
Right.
say,
Yeah.
a protocol, right? Sometimes easing into the change. For example, I started out using all the holistic things, all of the supplements and the Vitex and
Right.
I just
Yeah.
dim and the whole
The
thing.
whole thing.
And then
Yeah.
that shit did not work. Period.
Yes. I'm
Period.
right there with you because I've tried it all. And then at one point I was like, I could continue doing it this way, but I'm suffering at this point. Like, there's no
Exactly.
reason to. I
Yeah.
know the science. It's
Yes.
what I counsel people on all the time. Let's try it and see. And oh my
Yeah.
God, it made a huge difference. Yeah.
Massive difference. For me, it was
Oh,
literally
sorry.
when I went up on this last dosage, and this is my body, right? So a listener who's not experiencing this, I honor that too. And I bless your heart, you don't have to go through this, right? It's awesome. And there are several reasons that people have a different experience. But when I upped that dosage, it literally the next day, I'm back. I'm back.
I'm me again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back. This I can function. I will not lose my job.
Yeah.
I will not harm my children to the point where they'll be like, "This bitch is crazy." Well, they probably say that anyway,
But you're
like,
not traumatizing
I'm
them.
gonna traumatize them and they need to be in therapy, not voluntarily, but by
Yeah.
mandate, right? It was really bad. So I'm wondering, do people use your service and is your job that in a way to
Yeah.
help them to think through and talk through what is going to work for them at
Yes.
this
So, yeah,
stage?
you had asked, how does it work?
Yeah.
How does my job work? So basically, you become a member of Elektra and you get
Hmm.
access to the learning modules, you get some kind of information that we put up. So there's a community portion of it. And then you have access to a guide, and that is all included in the membership. And
Mm.
then in addition to that, you can, if you decided to, you can then book with a clinician. And so the clinician visits are extra, and we're working towards getting it covered by insurance at this point, but at the very beginning stages. But that's the hope, is that in a year from now, 2 years from now, we'll be covered by most insurances, most major ones. But so far, that's out of pocket. But everything else, and we are the Electra membership is covered by two insurances so far, one
Hmm.
in Massachusetts and one in New York. And people can decide that if they do wanna talk with a guide or if they don't wanna talk with a guide. Like, it's totally up to you. Some people just do the reading on their own, and then they, like, figure out what they need to do. They try some supplements, they try making some lifestyle changes. They decide to, like, talk to the clinician. They talk to the clinician, they get a prescription, or they and then they move on with their lives, or sometimes they come back and talk with me or with the other guide. Sometimes it goes the other way. So there's different ways that people access care, the care that we provide. But there's ways to do it in either way. You can do it individually, independently. You could do it with the help of a guide. So basically I have half-hour conversations with people. I have a questionnaire that they have filled out when they join the site that tells me all about their symptoms, all about how they're feeling emotionally, their mental health, what they're doing physically, how they're sleeping, if they're working out, if they have a special diet, if they're already on hormones, all of that stuff. And then so I go over that kind of in preparation to meet with them, and then I like, "Tell me what's going on. I know, like, what you wrote down, but what's happening? How is it affecting your life?"
Yeah.
And then I give them ideas, and then after we finish the conversation, I prepare a wellness plan for them with different things that they can try. Some supplements, maybe some activities to do, things to try as far as, "Oh, you should listen to this podcast. You should read this on the platform. You should try." My new thing is sleep stories. Like, they help me so much, like, fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly telling people my favorites on them. But we also so that's not evidence-based, but we also have evidence-based information that we give to people. And then we check in with them every 6 weeks, every 4 weeks, depending on what the person wants. So there's like the ability to talk to someone about your menopause experience whenever
Mhm.
you want it.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think you had said sleep? What do you think the biggest concern is for people?
Weight gain,
Yeah.
sleep. It's hard to know which one is more 'cause I hear both all the time.
Combination.
Yeah. So I always start like, "Okay, so let's try to fix your sleep first, because that's gonna
Yeah.
help with a lot of other things." But definitely weight, sleep, libido, and hot flashes too, so vasomotor symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Not everyone has them, but when they have them, it's
Yeah.
a pain.
And
So
I think sometimes it can be hard to identify that you're having a hot flash. For me, my hot flashes it was anytime I had a boss that was a man, and anytime he would start mansplaining to me, like a hot flash immediately. I'd feel this creeping coming up, and I was like, "Oh, that's it. That's
right.
because it's so connected to our nervous system."
Yeah.
It's interesting with the sleep. I'm very open about that being really the hardest fucking thing
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have night waking. I am a fucking toddler when it comes to sleep, and I
Putting
just
yourself to bed.
protest. I
Yeah.
protest. I do not wanna do it. In fact, last night right now, this is 8 something at night. It is hard for me to put a sentence together or a thought together,
Yeah.
honestly.
We're both getting valiantly into this because
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard for me too.
But
You're
also,
not gonna
we
sleep
feel like
anything
I would
else.
be putting my ass to bed and being, "I'm exhausted, I
Right.
should go to bed."
Yeah.
No. You know what? It'll be me time, I'll put on the TV will watch me for a while. Did your mom say that? Maybe you did. My mom
Yeah.
would be like,
The
"If the
TV's
TV
watching
is
you.
watching you, I'm gonna fold laundry, and then next thing you know, it's 10:30, and
Yeah.
and then I'll get my second wind."
Yes, that happens. I'm trying to get to the point where I can put myself in bed before the second wind hits, put myself to bed, and take my progesterone before the second wind hits so that I can start just winding down.
Winding
The
down.
wind down is so important.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But I do wake up. I'm like one of those middle of the night waker uppers.
The
Like
3 o'clock
3,
wake up.
3 o'clock.
I
Wake.
did a whole thing on sleep. I have a whole episode on sleep. You should listen to it, and I
Yeah.
talk about that. I talk about that waking up at 3:30, which very, very hormone related.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily do that. It's just the actual getting to bed is
Mhm.
hard for me. And that last night, I consciously sat there at 9:30, and I was like, "You cannot even keep your eyes open yet." you are you're accomplishing nothing,
Right. Yeah.
and so your ass needs to go to bed. And then I thought, "Oh, I should probably do an Instagram thing," and I didn't do that shit either.
Yeah.
I
What is it
literally
that's
washed my face.
Yeah, it's called revenge bedtime procrastination, and
Yep.
so many people suffer from it. My thing is my kids used to go to bed at 8, so then I could take an hour to clean
To
up and,
yourself.
and then take a shower,
Yeah.
go to bed around 10, but now they're going to bed at 9, and I'm like, I cannot try to get anything done and try to go to sleep when you guys are
Yeah.
still around. I need my time apart. So, yeah, I mean, I struggle with it too. I
Yeah.
definitely struggle with it too, and I just I don't get enough sleep. My REM app says I am 23 hours behind in sleep.
Oh, wow. How does it know that? You wear a watch thing?
Yeah, I wear a watch at
Then
night and
don't do that.
it calculates so I like exactly how much I'm getting every day and then it calculates like, how well did you sleep? Did you wake up in the middle of the night? Did you have enough deep did your heart rate go down enough? And then if those things don't line up, it starts taking off time.
Oh
I'm
my
basically I owe
god.
myself 23 hours of sleep.
And you can never get that back. That's the problem.
No, yeah.
That
At
shit's
one
going is
point,
good.
yeah. I think you can make up for it the same day you can make up for if you take a nap. But you can't I'll sleep in on the weekend and make up for it. That's not gonna work.
Oh my god.
And there's
Yeah.
no way that I could ever even knock myself out for 24 hours to make up for it
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I can
Even last night, even going to bed at 10:30, and I
mm,
wake up really ridiculously early in the morning too, I felt so good. I
yeah.
thought, "Well, if this is fucking with the hormones and the sleep, I'm gonna be getting some shit
Consistent.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna be kicking some a." It didn't last, obviously,
It's
because 'cause
it
I'm tired
creating the
right now.
habit, right? It's
Yeah.
creating the habit
It's
that's really hard,
yeah,
getting to that point, yeah, and that's one of the things my goal in life is to not be a hypocrite, so I try to this what I preach. If I'm
yeah,
telling people that they need to go to bed on time and that they need to, like, follow these steps and put themselves into a restful place at the end of the night early enough, I should be doing that.
yeah,
Same thing like the workouts, I should be doing weight training pretty consistently. I'm not there yet. That's, like, my goal for the next year is to get to that point, but I think it's very humanizing for people to talk with me and know that I'm also struggling. I'm struggling with the hormones, like, the hormonal up and down. I wrote a
mhm,
piece for the site on, like, what my experience was of deciding to start hormones and how I and my provider worked on the dosage because at first it was too high, then it was too low, and now I'm, like, right in the
right
middle.
in the middle.
Yeah. And it's like it still goes up and like, just because you have the hormones doesn't mean that your own hormones in the background are not doing this crazy jig. So I still struggle, but definitely things are a lot better.
I think the
Oh,
idea is not that these things necessarily fix it all, but it
yeah.
makes it so that you can take the next logical step, whatever
Yeah.
that is. Because I think for some of us, it's so debilitating. It's so fucking debilitating
Yeah.
that you can't even think of what the next step is, what the
Yeah.
next move is. And I'm talking about simple shit. I'm
Yeah.
talking about
What
not
did I
being
come into
even.
this room for?
Yeah, exactly. What did I come into this room for? Or that you put the paper on the left-hand side of the desk instead of the right-hand side of the desk, and now all is fucking lost.
Gone
It's all
forever.
lost. Forget I ought to just leave the profession and like, forget it. It's over. It's done.
It's definitely
It
not a panacea, but it helps you to me, it feels like I feel you mentioned more myself, who I was before this whole process started. And I can think clearly. I can it's
yeah.
late now, so I'm stumbling on my words.
Sure.
But in morning time and the middle of the day, I'm like, my brain is working for the most part. I have my
Yeah.
bad days and but a few months ago where I was like, God, I can't even talk a regular person. The
Yeah.
words, they're just not coming to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
I think brain and it's interesting too because I did men's health before I did menopause care. So
Mhm.
I was very familiar with hormones when it
Yeah.
came to menopause, and I started to deep dive into that. And one of the things that I think the next thing that's coming is more of an acceptance of testosterone
Yes.
for female-bodied
Yep.
people, because one of the first things, or one of the part of the whole assessment for male-bodied people and their hormone use is like, are you depressed? Are you not recalling words?
Right. Oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah.
yeah, it's,
And we have testosterone too, and, what's the deal? I always get this confused. Sometimes we have more
so it's a
testosterone than
percentage, yeah,
yeah.
it's a percentage. So if you take the 2 bodies together, so everyone has all the hormones,
Right, right.
right? So when we test men for testosterone, we're also looking at their estrogen as
Mhm.
well. We wanna
Yeah.
see what their estradiol is doing as well, and we wanna see what their prolactin is doing. So
Mm.
prolactin is also the hormone that helps us to prolactation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's one of the levels that we check in men to see, is the brain sending the signal to the testicles to make more
Sperm.
testosterone,
Oh,
right? More
testosterone.
sperm and testosterone, right? Because we're trying to, because their shit's pretty centrally located, right? So it's
Furries do the
always,
same thing
yeah, and
too.
they're always
Yeah,
making more, where we
yeah.
have a finite amount of eggs, and so eventually that shit peters out. But look at De Niro and what's his name? The other one.
Oh, I know who you're talking
Oh, the
about.
over actor, the over
Yes,
thing annoys
Al
me.
Pacino.
Al Pacino, oh,
They
he's
both just
annoying.
had
I don't
babies
even understand why,
at the
'cause his
time.
Beverly D'Angelo got
Uh-huh.
together with him.
Oh, she
Now
did?
I just think of her from Hair,
Oh my gosh,
the
I remember
movie
her from so
Hair,
many things. Yeah.
and she was in National Lampoon Vacation and
Yes.
all that. They
Yeah.
had kids together, but I think whatever.
Okay, we'll talk about Robert De
But
Niro.
the point is that these
And I
guys are
mean, he's
still
Al Pacino.
spitting out their sperm and
Yeah.
getting young chippies pregnant. And unlike us, where it's like, done, no more. That was your last good egg. Bye
Oven is
bye. See
closed.
ya.
Yeah.
But we also have testosterone. We obviously have prolactin, estrogen, and there's different types of estrogen in our bodies. There's E1, E2, E3, and not really E3. Let me shut up about that, because that's made by the placenta, and we're not
Okay, we're
walking around
not
with
yeah, yeah.
placentas. So anyway, the point is that the way that it works, and I always screw it up, and I just haven't committed it to memory.
Mhm.
When you look at averages, obviously, if we drew blood of a 52-year-old, well, not necessarily, but a 52-year-old man, biological, not even
Cisgendered,
cisgender,
yeah.
but biological man,
Mhm.
and a person born sex assigned at birth female, sex assigned at birth male. We take those two individuals, same point in their life, same age, we draw their blood. He's going to have more testosterone. But I think when you take the averages of estrogen to testosterone, when we are ovulating, now I think it's coming together. Remember, folks, it's like really late at night for us, but we will spike in our testosterone when we are ovulating. I think that's how it
Oh.
works. I think
Well,
it's,
that makes sense because that's
yeah,
when a lot of people all of a sudden feel a little bit more
get horny.
horny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because the testosterone's like, "Come on, this egg
Yeah.
is
And
dropping, the suit is
right.
saying."
We've got quote unquote more. We do
Yeah,
feel really strong and powerful and good and
yeah.
kick ass when we're ovulating. I miss those ovulation days. I really do. I still get my period, but I don't have,
That
oh, that
ooh,
god damn, I feel good. You
I
can't tell me
don't know
shit.
if I ever felt that with
Really?
ovulation. Yeah, like, I definitely, like, all of a sudden I would get hornier,
Yeah, yeah. I
but
get horny.
not necessarily more, like, powerful feeling.
Yeah, I think I would feel more around, I'd have that good week. That's some
Mhm.
shit though. That's some shit.
No,
Like
hormones
1
are
week
some
out of
shit.
1 week a month. That's a fucking raw deal. But that we feel really
Yeah,
on it
yeah.
for 1 week, because that's what it was. It was 1 week, then shit would start to go south,
Mhm.
and then you'd bleed, right?
And
And
that's a
then
really
you'd like,
shitty week.
and then yeah, or the week before, things would start to go south, then you'd feel really
Mhm.
bad and just wanna bleed. Then you'd be bleeding, and then some of us had heavy periods,
Yeah.
right? Literally in perimenopause,
Yeah.
One time, this is not a joke. Let me tell you something. I lived on Dyckman. Dyckman is 200th Street, right?
Mhm.
So in Manhattan, that you go north, the numbers get higher, right?
Right.
I think I was just trying to get like 207 or something. I think I made it 3 blocks until I bled so much that the damn tampon fell out of me.
Oh my god.
It literally was, "No, bitch." Like, no, I should not even be out in public,
Oh my
right? And I had to go into a diner and buy a cup of coffee in order to use the bathroom so I could straighten myself out.
oh my god.
Like
Oh,
that that is not that you don't feel powerful.
no.
This
Sure.
I know some people do, I get it.
Some
Bless
people
your
have
heart.
really easy menses and
Cute, like,
things are 3
cute.
days and
Not me.
no, it wasn't hasn't been the worst for me, but I definitely like, one of the things that led me to realize that I was in perimenopause was, like, all of a sudden my periods got really heavy.
And clotting.
Yeah, and I was like, "What is happening?" I would have to wear a cup and a pad
Huh?
because I, like, all constantly, like, bleeding through stuff. All of my underwear is black because I was like, "Forget it. Everything's gonna be stained." My bed was stained, everything, like
Oh, yeah, crime scene, crime
yeah.
scene. Every day was a crime scene.
So that was things are definitely not the same as they used to be.
Let me tell you, when that started to happen to me, I had already been doing, researching perimenopause
Mhm.
because I had a friend who had asked me, gosh, this was, like, definitely in the before time, 2017-ish.
Yeah.
She had asked me because I used to be a yoga teacher, right? She's like, "Do a workshop and let's do it around perimenopause and menopause. Do this." I said, "I'm not doing that. I don't wanna know about that shit. I don't know." I was like, "No, I'm not." Uh, oh,
Did it
and then
feel like a bad word?
oh, yeah, it
Menopause is
was
like a yeah.
when I was 38 and starting to go through perimenopause,
Mhm.
I was eating a sandwich at the probably not in the right place on the unit. Too bad. That's how it is in nursing, bedside nursing. I was
Uh-huh.
hungry and I needed to eat. So I ate and no, I must have been in the break room. See, I'm getting caught in these details. Who cares? But I went and talked to the attending hospitalist, Aziz, and I was like, Aziz, when I eat, I get dizzy. And it's so weird to me because it's not. And he looked at me, I was 38, and he's
Mhm.
like, maybe it's menopause. I said, fuck you. Fuck
I'm a
you.
young, vibrant thing. What are you talking
What
about?
are you talking about? I have eggs. I was like, "No, no. Do you see this? No, absolutely
I'm
not."
in the
I
core of
literally
my
told him
youth.
I did. I was, "Oh, fuck yourself." I was like, "How dare you?" And then my friend had asked me, but I had started to research. Eventually said yes, and we did
Mhm.
this series. We did a couple of them. They were really fun.
Ooh,
One was based on anger. One was based on
great.
Juicy Spirit. I'll share the playlist
Okay,
with you. I have
cool.
Spotify playlists.
Awesome.
One was I played Doja Cat, Moo, and then one of them I played, Lizzo's "Where's My Phone." Do you know that song?
I've definitely heard it. I like, know
So,
it.
played that, "Where's My Phone." It was fun. It was a fun time. Anyway,
Awesome.
I started to learn that progesterone is the first thing to go down when you're in perimenopause.
Mhm.
So everyone gets so focused on estrogen, and it's
Yeah,
really actually the progesterone that goes down. And so we don't have enough progesterone, and all of a sudden we're bleeding more and we're clotting.
right.
So I was having these horrible heavy periods. I went to go meet a friend of mine who is also a nurse practitioner. So we go to dinner in this dark place, and I think I had just come from work, and I'm again bleeding all over the place. I've gone through pad after. I'm wearing the mattress,
Uh-huh.
right? So I have
The
cowboy
biggest
boots
pad
on.
there.
Yeah, I have cowboy boots on just so that I can balance my waddle with that mattress between my legs. So I was like, when you feel this thing has hit its
Yeah.
capacity, it
Yeah.
has its capacity. So I go into the bathroom and I go and change my I'm in there 15 minutes, like I'm cleaning up. Finally, I'm like, okay, I'm clean. I've cleaned up.
Yeah.
Periods are not dirty. I'm just saying that I was cleaned up, right? I've gotten it together, new
Yeah.
pad, new me. I'm
Back to business.
flushing, checking, hands washed, ready to go. And what do I see? A clot as big as a kumquat right there on the floor of the bathroom. And I was like, how the hell? When did that fall out of me?
And you
And
didn't
how
even
did I
notice.
not feel it? I
Yeah.
know I've had a lot of people in and out of the vagina, but I should have felt that. I should have felt that,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, then I was like, I am really in the thick of
It's really
this.
something.
This is
Yeah.
really something.
Remember the point where and you mentioned my tampons just wouldn't stay in. It was my
Yeah,
vagina. I was like, "Nope, I reject it. I do not put this in me because it's not gonna work," and it just would come right out. And I could feel, like, walking down the street, oh my god, my
yeah.
tampon is
It's
slipping out.
coming out. Mine just did. Might as well just drop there right there on Broadway.
Yeah. It's insane. It's really wild. But the fact that we can talk about this is so refreshing and, like, validating and, like, life-saving. So I was thinking about we had a brief conversation when we tried to record this earlier, and I just was thinking throughout the week, and I was thinking about I went to the Dominican Republic. I'm from the Dominican Republic, and
Uh-huh.
I went back this summer, and I saw my oldest friend in the world. I've known her since we were like babies. We like, grew up across the street from each other, and somehow my job came up, and I was like, yeah, I have this new job. I really love it. It's about menopause, and it's about this and that, and her husband was like, wow. That's so interesting to see. You're talking about age. Women here don't talk about aging and they don't talk about menopause. And I was like, What? We all go through it. Of course, we need to talk about it. But there is still the stigma that you don't talk about it and you don't say your age. Cause I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm 49. And he was like, you actually said your age. Like people don't do that. And I think it's a privilege to get to this point
Yeah.
and to like be in a good enough place that I can see the next 10 years coming. But I was like, wow, my reality is so different than so many other people in my home country where they are it's like shrouded in mystery. They don't talk about it. So one of my hopes for the future is to be able to do something about that and help to destigmatize in all of Latin America, all
Yeah.
Spanish speaking countries. It's gonna happen. We might as well
Yeah.
talk about it. Like, you might as well just get the best information you can because it's gonna happen one way or another, and this is a much better way to go about it. I had a conversation with someone, with a member of my family, and I was like I've had conversations with members of my family, and there's, like, the people that have gone through it, and they don't remember anything. My mom, my aunt, they don't remember age. My mom, I know she had a hysterectomy, and now, like, back and seeing different pieces of information in different places, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, she must have been on Premarin because I remember seeing the discs with the little
Yeah.
pills and stuff. So she
Yeah.
must have been on it at some point, and this was probably in the '80s,
Yeah.
but my aunt doesn't remember. And then other members of my family, they were like, "Oh, no, I'm not in perimenopause." And then there's the whole I went to my doctor and my doctor ran my blood test and said that
Right.
I'm not in perimenopause, that I'm not menopausal. Well, your hormone panel's not gonna tell you anything.
Yeah.
It's gonna tell you
Meanwhile,
what's
there's
happening right now. It's not gonna tell you what happened last week or what's gonna happen the week after or next month. But you have the symptom. We're talking about it. You don't sleep at night, you put on weight, and you're like, your mood has completely changed and your hair is falling out. There's like all of these things that people are complaining about. And I wanted to be the person to put it together for them. Be like, all of these things are symptoms of one thing. And they're like, nope, not me. No, not. No, that happens when you're in your late 50s. Like, okay, all
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Nobody wants to hear that it happens
It starts
late
to happen
30s.
earlier. Yeah.
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 No. I was lucky too to have a mom who did hormones and talked about it really openly. And, but at the same time, I was in total, I think I was in denial for
Denial.
quite some time. I was in super denial because I think that I probably link my worth to my fertility. I probably because I can say people do it. It's got to be
Yeah.
me. There's a part of me that does it. And also I have my mom my I grew up where youth is very
Exalted.
exalted. Yeah, my parents were artists, and it just everything was being youthful,
Mhm.
being beautiful, being sexy, all of those things. Thinking about I I even can't stand the word crone. I don't like that word.
I
I
mean, it
don't like
doesn't
it.
sound great, right?
It's not
Can
sexy.
we find a better
It's
word for that?
it's not cute. It's
When
that
you
does
think
not
of
speak to my
crow,
people. I
yeah,
don't yeah, I just it doesn't speak to my experience. I
yeah,
could understand Auntie, something like that, but
yeah,
crone is no, you can be the witches of Macbeth. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's not
yeah.
how I am going out, but
No,
bless your heart if you're into that. That's great. Own it. Love it. I love that for you.
yeah. I'd
I
rather
like
be
that.
the wonderful wise woman.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
call it
The
that.
wiser year. This
Yeah,
is the whole thing. It's all about, for me, the wiser years, stepping into the wiser years, taking risks, and just being, fuck it. I'm just going to do what
what I
feels
wanna
right for
do.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. As we move
for
forward
sure.
in this state of half life forward or whatever.
Yeah. True
All right.
midlife, right?
Yeah. So people can see you. I love that idea that they, by doing a membership, maybe people have an issue with membership. Who cares? They get to talk to somebody one on one and say,
Yeah,
am I crazy? And then
right,
Grace gets on and says, absolutely, you're not crazy.
right.
This is real stuff. And yes, you can have itchy ears and they can be ringing.
Yes. Yeah.
And your teeth look different and your hair looks different. And yes, your partner does smell funny
All of a sudden,
all of the sudden, or they really don't smell funny, but everything is changed
everything
for
is
you.
yeah. It's similar
Everything's
to pregnancy in a way where you're like, "What's happening to my senses?"
yeah.
And then recalibrate, and this is but it's a longer recalibration because it's, like, constantly changing, constantly changing.
Yeah, or they call it puberty in reverse.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
if I love that,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I don't have anything against it. It's like it's its
It
own
doesn't feel
thing.
it
It's
doesn't
its own
feel
thing. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like a
I
different
think that
kind of
speaks more to the emotional back
yeah, the
and
ups and
forth.
downs, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So people can join Elektra. We have a monthly membership, we have a yearly membership, so whichever one makes more sense to folks financially, and then they have access a treasure trove of information as well as a live person who will meet with them and listen to them and talk to them about what's happening with them individually. So we know we talk to a ton of people all the time, so we know that there's a lot of variation, and there's some things that can help and some things that might not be helpful, and then there's different avenues that you can take. And we always the first and number one thing that we talk about is lifestyle. Your lifestyle has to be supportive of what you want to achieve. And in order to do that, you can't do the things that you used to do when you were 20 because that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in a whole different body. You have to do things in a totally different way. And going harder doesn't necessarily mean better gains. It actually means less gains.
Yeah.
You don't get to a better place by working out more, by starving yourself, by like not sleeping. It's actually the opposite. Taking really good care of yourself and doing it gently and treating yourself you're important.
I was just talking to my kids about I noticed that when I have things that have sugar in them, sweet things, I have horrible joint pain, period. It's
Yeah.
just going to be a mess the next day. And so I've decided to cut out sweets.
It's so
I've
hard.
It's really hard. I've done it before
Yeah.
and I'm going to do it this time. My oldest will be turning 20 and I did promise her that I will have sweets
Wow. Oh, for her
for
birthday.
her birthday.
Nice.
But in general, I'm not going to. I've been pretty good with it, right? I'm looking at certain
Amazing.
foods have sweet bread and that kind of thing, but I'm really trying to
Added
mindful.
sugars, you're not
Yeah,
adding
I'm trying to be
yeah,
really mindful.
yeah.
And I was thinking about when folks will say things, I can't trust myself. I don't give me that chocolate, I can't trust myself. And I thought, that's so fucked up
Yeah.
because we want people to trust us and we can't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I just have to keep putting that in the forefront. If
Mm.
I cannot trust myself, who the fuck can I trust?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think this is the beauty of the work of menopause or the work around menopause
Yeah.
is that concept of self-trust
Yeah.
and really being there. We started talking about your life in publishing and you said you love books. So what
Yeah.
3 books would you recommend that people would
Ooh.
look into or even podcast
Yeah,
really?
3 resources, I would say. I really love Heather Corinna's What Fresh Hell Is This? Because her voice is the voice that I hear in my head with along with the cursing and the vibrancy. I really love it. Jancy Dunn's book, Hot and Bothered. It's really enjoyable and it really gives a nice history of everything, and it has the big names in menopause. She's a health reporter for the New York Times. So she like really knows her stuff, how to talk about health issues, and I really enjoyed her book. And then as far as other major resource that I would say other than Elektra, which I think everybody should check out, is Let's Talk Menopause.org. And it's a nonprofit, not-for-profit organization that their aim is to talk about and give information about menopause. And so um they have a lot of videos and webinars about different things, sleep, sex, weight, all of the major things. They have like the big players, the big author and doctors talking about their specialties. And then there's a bunch of podcasts that are really, really good. Other than Ageless, apart from Ageless, I really Dr. Lauren Stryker's. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but I listen to her podcast a lot. And then there's another one called Circling the Drain. Have you heard it?
No.
Oh my god, they're hilarious. These 2 women are really, really funny, and they talk to a lot of different people about w perimenopause and menopause, and they're both going through it. Or I think one of them is menopausal, but basically they named it Circling the Drain because a friend of theirs, that's what their doctor said to her. She's like, "You're basically circling the drain." So they were like, "Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna make a podcast, and that's what we're gonna call it." So I really enjoy it. I just enjoy things that have humor in it as they're telling all the shit that you're going through that's
Yeah.
so not fun, but that we've made it to this point in life, we might as well just laugh a little. So
Yeah.
all of these things have some humor in it. Yeah.
Excellent. I will put all of those links in the description as well as how to reach you. So how do they reach you? You said
So
Electra.
elektrahealth.com. Yes. And my own email is grace@elektrahealth.com. Most of the time we work strictly with people that have memberships. I'm not doing this individually at this point, but if anybody has any questions, if you can't find the answer on the website and on the blog, then let us know because we want to make sure that we have as much information as possible to offer to people.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
To work directly with Grace, check out elektrahealth.com. You can also send her an email. The information will be in the description. Grace has been kind enough to share with us a list of her resources that she's created for her own family and friends. And if you're interested in getting a copy of that, you can obviously email her directly, or you can shoot me a DM in Instagram at agelust.co, and I'd be happy to send it to you. Until next time, keep it hot, keep it breezy, keep it sexy, keep it saucy. That's it. All right, age lusters, listen up. If you're into what we're creating, cut the crap and hit the like button. Share the damn thing and leave a review that's so good it makes us all blush. And that's not easy. To those of you who left those 5-star reviews, I can't thank you enough. It keeps my age lust flame burning. If you've got something on your mind, spill it. We're all about diving into the good stuff because this journey is as much yours as it is mine. Ageless is a ride you didn't know you needed. So buckle up, there's more coming.